Rahul is the worst Indian test batter to play 50 or more test matches in terms of averages.
Someone who's been backed his entire career, there have been so many players from the first class arena who haven't gotten a chance to represent the Indian team. You're going to see the stats of these three players. If you can guess any of them, comment down below. But before that, hit the subscribe button. Player A has played 118 matches with an average of 50.7 and has close to 8,000 first class runs.
Player B has played 101 matches with an average of 48.8 and he too is closing in on 8,000 first class runs.
Now this will be a good guess if you get it right. He's played 50 first class matches, has a first class average of 54.6 and has 3,000 first class runs.
Rohit Sharma returns to the squad for the second test match against Australia, and something that's very interesting is that Rahul is still opening the innings despite the fact that Rohit Sharma has been India's best opener since 2019, and also the fact that Rohit Sharma is the captain himself. Despite all of this, Rahul is still being given a go at the top of the order while Rohit Sharma himself has slotted him down to number 6. It's interesting to see the lengths that the team management is going to make sure that Rahul has a spot in the Indian squad itself.
Now a lot of people talk about how Rahul has been unlucky because of the number of times his batting order has been shuffled around, but this is necessarily not true because since his debut, Rahul has played 54 matches and opened in 44 of those occasions. In fact, since his debut until March 2023, he played 47 matches in which he opened 43 times. And even in this span until March 2023, Rahul amongst all Indian test openers has the worst average.
Not only that, if we look at this list of test openers for India since 2010 who've got at least 1,000 plus runs, you'll see here too that Yashasvi Jaiswal and Rohit Sharma are the openers who are there on top, and it's ironic because Rahul is at the bottom of this list, yet Rahul is currently opening the innings with Yashasvi Jaiswal. Just put this logically and it makes a little less sense considering the fact that Rohit Sharma and Jaiswal, who are at the top of this list, have been the most prolific openers for India since 2010. Not only that, but even the openers that Rahul replaced like Mayank and Shikhar have much better batting averages than him.
A lot of people say that Rahul has been fantastic in the Sena countries, which is also why he's getting backed for a very long time, which is interesting because since 2010, for an Indian batter to score at least 1,000 plus test runs in Sena countries, Rahul even here has the worst average.
However, if you take a look at this list where we are comparing Indian openers in the period that Rahul was opening the innings, you'll see that Rahul is at the third position here in terms of batting average. Second on this list is Shubman Gill, and the fact is that Shubman Gill now bats at number 3, which might have been an important consideration while considering Rahul for the playing 11 at the opening spot once again. In fact, since 2019 in Sena tests, Rahul has been our second best batter in terms of batting average.
This is very interesting because there have been a lot of batters since Rahul debuted who have been in and out of the squad, who've been picked because of the first class performances and dropped way too soon and not seen the light of the day, unlike a Rahul who seems to be always getting picked again and again. Now if you were the captain, would you drop someone like a Rahul or would you continue playing him? And this is exactly what you can do with a mobile game called Hit Wicket, where you are in the captain's chair, you decide the squad, you decide the batting and the bowling order, you decide when to use special abilities, especially the 2x ability. Do you decide to use that early on in the chase? Do you wait until the end to reach the target? It's addictive, it's strategic, and it tingles the right part of your cricketing brain. So go down in the description below and click on the link and download and play.
Now talking about players and being dropped, one such example of a famous player who got dropped very soon was Karun Nair. We all know that Karun Nair got that all-important triple century against England, but after that, in just 4 failures, he was dropped from the test squad. And the case of Karun Nair is very interesting, right? There was no particular reason in terms of his technicalities with the bat as to why he was dropped. Even 4 innings and 4 failures seems very less for someone to be dropped that easily. The only reason that he was dropped from the squad was because he was replaced by Hardik Pandya in the next test series itself. Hardik Pandya obviously provided stability with the bat and could also ball well.
Now some other cricketers who come in our mind, especially in that opening slot, are Mayank, Shikhar and Prithvi Shaw. They all did fairly well before the low performances, especially before getting dropped. And all of these guys come under one umbrella essentially for why they were dropped, and that's technical errors. We all know Prithvi Shaw and Mayank were very deceptive to the ball coming into them, and it was clearly shown in the 2020-21 BGT series. In fact, Mayank even batted in the middle order so that he had some protection from the new ball. Despite all of this, Mayank had 8 failures before he got dropped, and Prithvi Shaw a little unlucky. He only had 3 failures before he got dropped, but he was also banned a little little later because of consuming an illegal substance during the dope test.
And now we bring this up because KL Rahul has also got a fairly long rope. Someone like Shubman Gill and also Shreyas Iyer have got fairly long ropes. In fact, in the case of Shreyas Iyer, he's failed 13 times before he was dropped from the test squad. But again, in Shreyas Iyer's case, there was some clear issues with him facing the short ball, and also towards the end of his test innings that he played, he also struggled against spin, and there was also a temperamental issue there. So this drop was justified.
Another opener who comes in our mind is Murli Vijay. One of the things that we think the selectors considered is his age, and the last England series that he played, he showed no temperament. The Murli Vijay that we all knew would leave the ball, except he wasn't doing that. He was dropped from the Indian side after 8 failures. And this is where we come back to KL Rahul and talk about why he is still being considered despite having similar numbers in the Sena countries as compared to his contemporaries who's no longer in the squad.
With KL Rahul, obviously one thing that comes to mind is that he's also a white ball player and he's also a wicketkeeper batsman. As soon as Rishabh Pant had that freak injury, it meant that KL Rahul would get an opportunity to come back to that Indian lineup in the test squad as a wicketkeeper batter. In fact, this was also in the same year where in the ODI setup, KL Rahul averaged 66.25, and for someone who's played test matches before and has been around the Indian circuit for that long, you would expect the white ball form to have some kind of impact on his selection in red ball cricket. And despite the return of Rishabh Pant, KL Rahul has now managed to retain his place in the test squad consistently. Last but probably the most important factor is that KL Rahul has really solid technique. Unlike some other players like Mayank and Prithvi Shaw who had clear technical issues and flaws that could be exploited regularly, KL Rahul does not have a technical flaw as such. Of course, temperament also comes into the picture, and this is where he's very similar to Ajinkya Rahane as well. KL Rahul is very similar as a cricketer to Ajinkya Rahane in terms of how they were both technically very solid, but when it comes to their temperament, they are both someone who can be very iffy at times. Now, when I refer to temperament, it's not about how they just play ball by ball, choosing the right balls to leave and choosing the right balls to attack, but also for them being able to bat for long periods of time and convert their starts to big scores. And despite there being some question marks over KL Rahul's temperament, his recent form and all of the other reasons we've mentioned is why he's still being backed, and this is the potential that they're seeing in KL Rahul.
And this begs the question of how long can you back a player until you unlock their real potential? Because by backing KL Rahul for so long, you're losing out on potential Indian cricketers who have been scoring a lot of runs in the Ranji format but aren't getting picked because of selection criteria like this. A classic example is Abhimanyu Easwaran, who has had to score a lot of runs, gets selected into the India squad, and then gets replaced by KL Rahul, who wasn't opening for the longest time, who also could have been a potential number 3, but then gets replaced by Devdutt, who wasn't even in the original squad in the first place. An example is Nitish Kumar Reddy coming into the India squad. He is a young player who performed fairly well in the Ranji setup. Given a chance, he is performing well for India. And just like this, there will be so many other players in the Ranji format who've been scoring a lot of runs, taking a lot of wickets, but not getting a chance to represent their country.
By no means are we saying that it's wrong to back a player, but there has to be a limit to this. A lot of Indian cricketers miss out because of how some players get way too many opportunities. While if the same number of opportunities are given to somebody else, there could be a really good chance that they outplay the batters or the bowlers who are already in the current Indian squad. This has been our video. If you like this, definitely leave a like, subscribe, most importantly share this with your friends. All of our links are in the description. We also have an email newsletter, so sign up for that. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.